welcome back. If you're just tuning in, you're watching Safiya Breakfast Show on TV Gotel. Yes, we kickstart our first discussion. Nigeria's struggle with insecurity has cost hundreds of thousands of lives and billions in damages and destruction that has affected the social fabric of the nation. 2020 has been a difficult year for most Nigerians because of the surge in criminal activities in a multidimensional pattern that spread across the entire country. It's safe to say 2021 has not started any differently with reported cases of attacks and kidnapping and many more. To put us through and further this discussion is Dr. Rawlins. He is the Vice President Security and Safety at the American University of Nigeria here in Adamawa State. Good to have you in the program this morning.
Happy New Year to both of you.
Happy New Year to you.
And I should say Ohio gozaimasu.
Ohio gozaimasu.
Interesting. This is 2021 and there are tendencies that we have to do extra curriculum activities.
That's right. I know you all are baffled. It is good morning in Japanese.
Okay.
Ohio gozaimasu. I knew that none of you would be able to respond, and I saw the look of disdain and disappointment in your face. but it was good.
We were expecting something different.
I know.
You should have told us you were going to Asia, and would have prepared for that.
I started the new year with a good way.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Internationally.
Interesting. So let's speak to what we have on the table this morning. Let's quickly do a review of what 2020 was like and see how we can tie it up with what we've seen so far in 2021.
Well, 2020 was a very bad year for Nigeria in so many ways, not only the security situation, but the economy and COVID-19 and all of this, the maladies that took place in 2020. Then coming to the end of 2020, when you think everything should die off or cool off, it escalated. The economy now gone into a recession. The security situation has escalated and to the extent that we have entered 2021 with the security situation out of control and uncontrollable. And now we have a second wave of COVID-19. I feel positive that in 2021 it will be a better year, but I think for the next few months we are going to see nothing but a resurgence of crime, criminality, banditry, and Boko Haram activities. We're also going to see the economy struggling to get better, and we'll also see COVID-19. This second wave is going to be more disastrous than that first wave.
Speaking to the resurgence of the insecurity that you think we're going to see, what do you think will be largely responsible for that?
Because we do not have the capacity to control Boko Haram, banditry, crime, violence, militancy, terrorism, the herders, farmers, crisis. We have too much stuff going on to rely mainly on the military and the police. We cannot win this war unless we start utilizing the youth of the country who are usually hunters and vigilantes. We are not going to win it unless we employ those people, mobilize them in some shape, manner or form, and then perhaps try to do some negotiating with Boko Haram, because it's not going to stop. I remember 10 years ago, I told you all that 10 years from now, they will still be here. And you all will say, no, please don't say that. Well, 10 years from now, they will still be here. So we have another 10 years of Boko Haram.
But we see the Nigerian military recording a very significant improvement recently in the fight against Boko Haram, that of course, which led to a huge number of insurgents dislodged at the fringes of Niger and Chad. But what I'm saying here is, must or should the military wait for the verge of a new year before they can recoup and rebuild their armory for onslaught Because to me, a new year is another year is not just different from the tactics and techniques within the theater of operation. So must there be a new year that ushers in another fresh attack?
That's such a great question. You know, the New Year is only for people who, in a calendar year, the 31st, and then you switch over to the 1st, and people celebrate it. But during war, or in the situation we are in with the insurgency, we shouldn't just wait for the new year. There is no new year in warfare. Everything continues. Tomorrow is the same day, it's another day. It is not a new day for as we celebrate on the 1st of January. It is a normal average fighting day for the military and for the people involved in the fight. So don't wait. There's no reason to wait until next year, until the end of the month. No, you must execute the war.
I ask this question because if you align it to the speech of the president, the first January 1st speech of the president, there is this kind of assurance to Nigerians that this year all the security challenges that have bedeviled the country will definitely be brought to book, or rather will be nipped in the bud. So that also makes me to be a little bit concerned and curious and worried that must we wait till a brand new year surfaces before we change our tactics of onslaught and attacks on insecurity?
Definitely not. And the key word is will. Every year for the past 10 years, every president said, we will, we will, we will. Let us stop saying we will and show us we have. We have done, we have done, we have done this, we have done that. Don't tell us anymore what you will do. Tell us that we have done it. That's what the people want to hear now. And by the way, if you notice what he said about re-engineering the tactics and personnel, some changing of personnel, that is subliminal message for us that he's going to change the security chiefs.
But is it long overdue? Because there's been this call. People have yearned for the change of the service chief long before his speech for January 1st. Is it long overdue, or this is another way of making sure that we get the security architectures right?
No, he's embarrassed. When I say embarrassed, he has 2 more years, and this war and insurgency and everything, the kidnapping of the school children, it is bedeviling the president. The president must leave office showing that he has done well, that he has stopped the insurgency, he destroyed the bandits, he must show that all of these things that he promised the people that he was able to accomplish. Right now he hasn't been able to do that. But in this year, into next year, because next year will be his last year, he's going to do what he basically can do, which is going all out, win or lose. He has to go out to make sure that he finish what he promised the people, which is destroy Boko Haram.
At this point in time, do you think it is basically in the right way to say they should decentralize the commands in which we have, not taking orders from the headquarters as usual? It has gotten to a point where commands should begin to have some powers of their own to begin to take decisions. Yes. Do you think it's called for?
Yes, you sound like an expert in warfare, because you have to decentralize it. If it's not decentralized, you're going to have problems, because the way it is now, people have to call in to get permission to do that. If you let these people, if you decentralize and said, just do what you have to do it within the guidelines of the Geneva Convention so we don't get in trouble, but do what you have to do and do what you must do to get the job finished. Those commanders, in the theater commanders, can go out. But you can't say, this is what's going on, this is what we see. Let's call Abuja to find out if we can attack or not. This is what happened in the past to develop countries, to the US, to the British, to the French. They used to have to do that until they realized it was wrong. They were losing men and losing the war. Then they had to decentralize. You haven't decentralized
So
yet.
is that what is largely responsible for these attacks that we keep seeing? Because they need to take decisions at the verge of making sure that they actually nip these criminals in the bud, that they need to call the head office to make some kind of decision.
It is one of them. It is one of many things. Decentralization is one, and it's always a big one. Because decentralization gives the theater commander autonomy to make decisions without having to call the
all right. If you call for decentralization of the theater command, you know, let's not forget the fact that the multinational joint task force has been a very strong ally in the fight against insurgency. Now, what we see recently that Boko Haram were able to kill about 70 persons within Mali and Chadian and Niger basin. We know that the Chadian troops have been very strong in the fight against Boko Haram. Now, that shows that most of the influx of these persons are coming from Mali through the Sahel. Is there anything wrong with the Nigerian border, since they can't penetrate through Chad, they were penetrated through Mali and Niger?
Yes, the Nigerian military is weak. They're not capable of stopping it. And then there's a problem with corruption. And then there's a porous border. And the fact that people can go across easily and freely. And the Nigerian doesn't have the resources, the training, the logistics to prevent it from happening. So people go across quite freely, and a lot of those people who are kidnapping people came in from Cameroon, Niger, Chad. Not Chad so much, because the Chadians are stopping them, and that's how they get by. Another thing is the multinational joint task force. They're not working in a synchronized fashion. There is no synchronicity. They're not in sync to each
But do
other.
they also need decentralization, the multinational joint task force, since their main purpose collaboratively is to deal with Boko Haram? Do they also need to be decentralized like the Nigerian troops that you called for earlier on?
They need to be decentralized, but the biggest problem is command and control, because no one, there's all these four countries together. Everybody wants to be the one in control, calling the shots. Maybe they should say, for 3 months you do it, for 3 months you do it, for 3 months you do it. But they must have one person who's calling the shots.
I think the last time I checked, it was a Nigerian, a general, Irabo, that was in control, the commander of the multinational joint task force.
Yes, and it created some problems between him and the others, because they weren't working together. And I'm trying again. All they have to do is look and see what the rest of the world do. Look at what America does in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Every country, at some point, the leadership changes. This the last time it was an Italian, one time it was an American, another time it was a Frenchman, another time it was the British. They change it around, so everybody feels as if they're a part of it, and they're carrying out the duties as an international community. Here, there's a lot of difficulty in Niger, Cameroon, Chad, and Nigeria to work together, and I still don't know why. I believe it's pride. Everybody have a little bit of pride, and everybody needs to fix it.
Let's speak to this reality. How do we begin to make self-decisions in making sure that there should be this trust between all of these agencies that are on the field trying to put an end to all of these criminal activities? Do you think there's this distrust among all of these people in making sure we nip this very issue in the bud and getting the serenity right?
Absolutely. There's some distrust that is taking place that is affecting the relationship. For example, the Chadians felt as if they were the ones putting in all of the effort, and none of the other countries were putting in as much effort as they were. They felt that Nigeria was not putting in, even though the problem came from Nigeria, they didn't believe that Nigeria was putting in enough effort. Some countries, there was money that was given to the multinational task force. Some countries felt they didn't get enough, and some countries got too much, and some countries didn't use the money effectively so that they can execute the war properly. So you see these little bit of distrust and doubts that goes on amongst friends. These are the things that break relationships. Once the relationship is broken, it is hard to fight if you are not fighting together, if you're not synchronized, if you're divided and there is some, distrust and grudge, we're not going to fight properly.
Then, as it is now, what can cement the relationship again, as it is now?
They need to come back to the table, sit down, talk, renegotiate, replan, bring in some observers from the UN, from the US, from the UK, from France, since we all are part of it and we all are assisting in some way logistically and technologically. Let them all come to the table and let them sit down and figure out what is it do we want? What do we want to see? What is your role? What is your role, Chad? What are you going to do? Cameroon, what is your role? What will you be doing?
But if you look at it this way, if Nigeria does not want to, or is not getting ready to seek for help from any of these developed countries, is it not okay, wouldn't it be okay for the multinational joint task force, since up to date they are still being confronted by, avalanche of this influx of Boko Haram? Is it still okay if the multinational joint task force can look inward or outwardly, to invite other mercenaries or countries that have been good in the fight against insurgency?
Well, they can look outwardly, but not as a joint task force, because then, like the Chadians use the Israelis to help them when they went there and they beat up on Boko Haram a few months ago. But you can do that as a country, but as a joint task force, all of the countries has to agree to that. Now, if all of the countries don't agree to using mercenaries or soldiers of fortune, whatever term you want to use, or contractors, if all the countries do not agree to it, we cannot do it. One country cannot do it. You must, because, for example, they will be going into Chad, some will be going into Cameroon. Right now, the US and France is in Niger, helping them out logistically and technologically. So why can't they come together and say, let's ask the mercenaries to come in and help us do the job? They can, and if they do, you'll see a great difference, just like they did.
We've actually been speaking to insecurity for a way too long time, and we've seen how it has actually affected the Nigerian state, and also actually, as it stands now, the Northwest is in shambles. Looking at the way these guys are ravaging those communities around those axis. Is there sincerity of purpose in making sure that we get this done, and we're able to put our hands in the air and say, yes, we won the whole thing?
Another very good question. Many people have said that there are people who are benefiting from the war. And I think you all use the word, you call them entrepreneurs.
Yeah, conflict entrepreneurs.
Conflict entrepreneurs. I love that term.
Or conflict merchants.
Conflict merchants.
Yeah.
Those are some good terms, because the name is explicit. People are benefiting from it, and people always benefit from war. Somebody is going to make money, either from selling weapons, arms, uniforms, food, supplies, big weapons. Somebody's going to benefit from it. But in this case, it seems as if, from what the local people are saying, it is the big people, the politicians who are involved, who do not want it end. I find it, again, maybe I'm naive, I just find it very repulsive to think that a politician or politicians would ignite it, would allow it to continue. So many people, there's over 30,000 people have been killed in the last 10 years. It's just to be able to make money, I find that inconceivable. I mean, if I see some proof then I will say yes. I just believe that this has gotten out of hand, it's gotten out of control, and they cannot bring it back. It's like, again, cancer in the body. If you get cancer and you didn't treat it very quickly when it first starts, it's going to spread. And when it spread, the doctor is going to say too late. We not even, I mean, Boko Haram just did some damage over the last week during the holidays. Even after the SSS sent out a message telling everybody, be careful, Boko Haram is on a rampage and they want to destroy places of worship, cities, towns, anything they can get their hands on. Everybody knew that. We were warned. We weren't able to stop them. What about the banditry? It seems as if the bandits are doing more damage and harm to us than Boko Haram is. So it's not just Boko Haram now, it is bandits. Do you really believe that
more in a rampage than Boko Haram?
Bandits are doing more damage than Boko Haram, and all they're doing is copying Boko Haram, taking the lessons and modus operandi of Boko Haram and using it. They're even using it better than Boko Haram.
But is that out of place to say maybe the dismantled Boko Haram members are the ones actually taking tools to be some kind of bandits?
I don't believe that. I know I've heard people say that before, that the dismantled ones. You mean the ones who
the ones that are on their own?
Okay, yes. I thought you meant the de-radicalized one.
The ones that are on their own.
Of course. If I ran out of Boko Haram, I was a member of Boko Haram, it's a very good question and a very interesting one. If you and I were in Boko Haram, we ran away from Boko Haram, we don't want the police to see us, maybe they have our pictures, maybe they know who we are. If we go back to Boko Haram, they will kill us because we ran away. So where do you go? You go with the like-minded people. The same people have the same thought patterns, the same behavior, bandits. So you go to the bandits and you join forces with them. You may even become a commander because of your fighting experience, your knowledge, your skills that you developed and you got in Boko Haram. You take it with you to Zamfara or to Katsina.
So where is the sincerity of the government? Sorry, Chris, for interrupting. Where is the sincerity of the government in tackling the insecurity? Because that is where it lies.
A lot of people believe that the government is not sincere. I believe the government is sincere. I think that the president has to, the government has to, because you don't want to leave office with a mess. You don't want to leave the country all torn up from banditry, Boko Haram. You don't want to do that because every president wants to leave a legacy behind. And I know this president, his legacy is that he destroyed Boko Haram. He's a general. He will want that to be his legacy. And if he cannot do that, then he'll fail.
Dr. Lionel, finally, what role, or what is the place of African Union in the fight against Boko Haram? Because the president, about 48 hours ago, called on African leaders to join hands to fight this menace. And even as he has made a call, put a call across on African leaders, UN seem to have been mute in the fight against Boko Haram that has ravaged the Sahel region of the African continent.
Well, the UN shouldn't even be involved in this one, in the fight, except for humanitarian purposes, to distribute food and medicine. However, the AU, the African Union, they have a responsibility. They made a deal amongst themselves, so to speak, that what happened to one happened to all, and that they're there to protect and defend each other. They're there to protect the African continent and all African countries. So they are the ones who need to get together, grab each country, say, why should we bring in some white people from America? Why do we need to bring in some white Marines from the US or the UK? Why don't all of us, each African country, send 500 men, warriors, fighters, train your best, send them to Nigeria and let them fix that situation in West Africa. That too is a good idea, and that would be a welcome commitment to ending the war against terrorism and banditry.
All right, Dr. Lionel, there's no better way to end this conversation like now. Thank you so very much for finding time to come on the show first Monday of the year 2021.
And Happy New Year. Where is your Tunde?
It is behind the scene.
Well, I like you being here. Please stay.
Okay.
All right, Lionel,
We'll be here with
thank
you
you.
today, so-
All right, that's been our conversation with Dr. Lionel von Frederick Rawlins. He's Assistant Vice President, Security and Safety of the American University of Nigeria. We will take a short break. When we return, we will have another conversation tilting towards security as well. Just stay with us.